Welcome to Show Me Sports Legacies. I'm your host, Jeff Crowley, and I'm here tonight with Chris Hockenfels, my co-host, and he's queued up with something he's going to talk about as we get into a big story tonight about Newtown-Harris basketball.
Well, you know, Jeff, something's in the air. It's fall. It's cooled down a little bit. Round ball rock, I hear back on the TV airwaves. There's this rhythmic thumping when I come into the middle school early in the morning. Football and softball and volleyball, I see them putting their equipment and gear away. The MJ LeBron debate has fired back up, and I think it's basketball season. I think it's finally here. And what a way to start off basketball season this year with a little reminiscence of a great basketball era in a small town.
It's a great time of the year. Now, when it gets really cold, I always say that the best thing about winter is basketball. I mean, there isn't much about winter in Missouri that is good, except for basketball. And being in a hot gym with a great game, it's just exciting. It gets us through the winter, to be quite honest. We're going to talk about this today. We're talking about an era of Newtown-Harris basketball. Beginning in 2005-2006, there was a new bunch of freshman basketball players that joined some excellent individual underclassmen and began a 4-year run unequaled in Newtown-Harris basketball history, rivaling any of the successful multi-year runs of any other North Missouri 1A school, certainly. Coach Tim Cool was at the helm for that 4-year run, an era that saw only 11 losses to go with 108 wins. I mean, that's crazy. 108 and 11 over a 4-year period. We are joined tonight by Coach Cool, Coach Tim Cool, who is also the current head boys basketball coach at Chillicothe High School. And in his career at Dora, Newtown-Harris, and Chillicothe, the last number I found was 574 wins. That's so impressive to have over 500 wins in high school basketball in the state of Missouri. We had this arrival in 2006. KJ Cool, Kanan Fairley, Tyler Busick among talented group. Kameron Cool, coach's son and player the last 2 years of this 4-year run, and then later head coach for Trenton Lady Bulldogs basketball, joins us tonight. And Tyler Busick, longtime head of vocal music instruction at Trenton R-IX School District and a key member of those 2006 to 2009 teams. They're here to look back at some great teams and some good times. And I want to welcome everybody to Show Me Sports Legacy Studio.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Good to have you guys here. Okay, let's set the scene. Talk about the communities. I've traveled through Newtown and Harris. I've been there on business. Every time I drive through there, I think about the Cools and the Busicks and what went on there, and it's a small place. So talk about, we've got listeners in Moscow. We've got listeners in the Netherlands, in Australia. They've never heard of Newtown-Harris. Would you like to explain what that is as far as the school district, and then something about the towns and the nature of those towns? Who wants to go first?
You guys want to go?
Yeah, my first thought was just the fact that you're not going to get there by accident. You don't usually wander into Newtown, and so you have to go there on purpose. And as small as it was, what a great place to grow up. Everybody knew everybody. You know, just being able to be a part of a community like that was so tight knit was pretty special. Great way to grow up.
I just say that, you know, whenever you talk about small towns and small communities, defining small is always tricky. You know, you're always competing over how many you have in your class. There aren't very many times that we lose that game of who has the fewest in their class, you know, and when you're competing against people, you're talking to people, it's like, I went to a small school. Well, I went to a small school too. And the very next question is, how many did you have in your graduating class? And, you know, for me, it was 13. And for Kameron, that was
10.
And so, you know, we rarely lose that battle of smallest class. That's for sure. So when you were talking small, we're talking teeny, tiny place, little speck on the map that is just kind of a special place for all of us, I think.
I just think about the magic that was there in the community. The people are just amazing people. We met Tyler's parents, Danny and Sandy. They're lifelong friends, and we just had so much fun together. And, you know, Doug and Becky Fairley, and there are just numerous people, and that's what made that community so wonderful, were the people that were there. You know, they had a passion for their community and a passion for the school, very supportive. And basketball was a big deal in Newtown. You know, they had a great run back in the 70s, and there's a lot of history there. So I was just very fortunate to be a part of that. I try to think about some way to explain, you know, it's kind of like a Hallmark movie. I mean, it really was that wonderful of a place. And I was there for a long time, and it is just a great community, and the people were amazing. And, you know, we were fortunate to have great kids and great people.
When I was growing up, my uncle coached up in this area, and I would go to the Gilman City, North Harrison tournaments. I'd go to King City, and was always impressed by how the communities responded to those teams. I mean, it was a big thing. I love that. And I always appreciated that the guys I met at camps and different things from those towns, they lived in the gym. I mean, was the gym ever closed at Newtown?
Closed is a word you might not use. They did lock it, but we definitely knew how to get into the gym regardless of how locked up it was. And so, there were times that we, credit cards, slide it, and the game was on. We would jump in, grab the ball. Sunday afternoon was open gym day. I mean, it was rare on a Sunday afternoon after church. Go home, you eat, you grab your shorts, you head up to the school. From probably 5th, 6th, 7th grade, we were starting just jumping in and going. Yeah, it's a good time.
That group, I think you started kind of having them go to tournaments when they were probably 3rd and 4th grade. Is that about right?
Yeah, maybe a little bit older. But pretty close. They were young, like 5th grade.
Yeah, probably.
And so I just remember, going to everything and being a part of everything. There were a lot of days I'd go up on Sunday and man, I would hope somebody got tired. I would hope somebody had a leg cramp. I didn't pray for like injuries per se, but I knew, okay, if somebody, or maybe we'll just have 9 today, something like that. But yeah, you were just always there as much as you could possibly be. And almost to the point where I just remember thinking when somebody couldn't come, I was just like, why? Why aren't you going to be here?
What could you possibly have to do?
It's Sunday.
Right.
We're supposed to go up and play open gym. And so just a special time and a great memory. And man, just so competitive too. We always brought it back eventually to being all good. But there were some pretty competitive matchups that were, kind of built our competitive spirit for sure.
Makes for lifelong friendships. I mean, band of brothers kind of stuff. And in fact, brothers were a big part of this story because the families and the different gaps between the ages of brothers, the big brothers leading the way and wearing the uniform. And I want to wear that uniform. I want to do that. Now, Coach, how did your team look as you started that 2005, 2006 year? You had a player or two, and then you were folding in some new blood that was going to make things really jump.
Yeah.
Seems like.
Yeah, we looked young. We looked very young. But you're right, we had Tyler's older brother Andy was a big important part of starting that run, just because he was 17 and big and strong and could shoot it and was a good leader. Brandon Coyne was a year older than these guys, and Brandon just turned into a great player and was already on his way as a sophomore. And then bringing in these freshmen, I knew there was something special there because I had seen them compete from the time they were 5th grade, and I knew we were going to be competitive. I had no idea we were going to be 23-5 that first year, their freshman year. But I had a good sense after we went to the Gallatin tournament and we beat Hamilton, who had a really athletic, good, strong team, and we beat them that might have been the first game you guys played in that tournament. I think maybe a 3-6 game. We beat them, and I was like, okay, well, we might have a little something here because those guys were not intimidated. At least they didn't show like they were. They just went out there and played. For that group, really, for me, it was so natural and so easy to coach them because they were so natural and easy with each other. And everybody already kind of knew their role, which is amazing. 14 years old on a varsity team. And so that's where my first indication was, wow, this could really be pretty special.
How did you feel that year?
As a freshman, you don't know what you don't know. And we just assumed that, we just expected to win. And we had no idea that this 18-year-old kid he's much bigger, much faster, much stronger. We just thought, well, we got to go beat him. And as freshmen, we were kind of dumb like that. And we just went out and we just ran up and down the floor and we did what we were supposed to do. And I think that probably helped us a little bit is just he was right. We weren't intimidated by these big guys. And there were some great teams that we came up against in our freshman, sophomore year. Ridgeway had a great team. Mercer had a great team. Grundy County had a great team. Tri-County, Jamesport had a good team. Like the HGC conference had some solid teams with some juniors and seniors. And that somehow didn't seem to faze us.
When you got to the end of the season, did it feel any different? All of a sudden you're playing for a trophy in a regional final or you're in a sectional game Did you feel that in your team?
Well,
Or did they just keep blasting on through?
they just kept playing. I mean, they loved to play and they loved each other. And I think those were the two main things. And they were super talented already. But it was just that group, everybody kind of knew what they needed to do to help us win. And winning was really important. That was something that was already ingrained in them. I think they're just a bunch of really competitive guys who loved each other. I mean, they really cared about each other. That was a huge part of it. They were like family. A lot of them were family. They were so competitive. They did it the right way. And, that's kind of cliche and that's kind of coach speak when you're talking about your kids. But it's really true. I mean, they played hard. They played together. They played the right way. Like Tyler said, they didn't know any different. They just knew how to go out and compete, and that's what they did.
I had down here Gallatin tournament. I know you mentioned that in the 2000s, Gallatin had a kind of neat thing going where they were kind of half small schools and half bigger schools. And you could kind of see the barometer of the smaller schools, but they would show up and, okay, if they're the real deal, they'll play with South Harrisons and the Gallatins and the Trentons and the Hamiltons. And if they're not, we'll know right away. And that's when kind of I remember as a coach and AD, as the scene started to get set for Newtown, as they showed up at the Gallatin tournament and they were the real deal. They could play with these bigger teams. Did you guys feel going in that was the moment that you knew, or did it really not matter to you? You just wanted to play basketball?
I think that first year or two, I think did we get third in or consolation? Didn't we?
Well, I hate to start on a negative thing.
No.
So Kanan Fairley, all-state guard, all-region at NCMC, great player. You remember this game against Trenton? You do now?
It is seared into my memory.
Derek Miller hit a shot in that game?
Derek Miller hit a shot. Kanan Fairley got a steal with Andy got a steal with 2 seconds left, tossed it to Kanan, and Kanan missed a 2-footer to win the game.
And Andy said, I'll get you closer next time.
Yep. And so I just remember, but it was funny as a kid watching the game, I just remember thinking, wait, they lost.
Yeah, I think that was I think more than anything, we just lost and we hated losing. Like Coach said, winning was everything. We just hated losing. And we didn't know that Derek Miller was probably a junior or a senior. We didn't know that those guys were much older than us and we weren't supposed to even be close in that game as a tiny little school. What we knew is we lost, and we would do anything that we could to not let that happen again.
But the basketball people knew, as someone watching that develop, is, oh, okay, they're playing, they're good, they can play with the bigger teams. Because when you are from Chillicothe, Trenton, even South Harris and Gallatin, HDC, okay, let's see you play in the Gallatin tournament against some of these bigger schools and see what happens, and then you can go on your run in the HDC, and you did, and that was fun. And then it got progressively better for you guys from there.
So that first year, you get to the sectionals and bump into stat, and they knock you out. And the next year, you just kind of get rolling again, and even a better record in the HDC, and you were challenged by some good teams. North Mercer, Ridgeway, Grundy R5 had pretty solid teams. There were a lot of 8-1 teams that year. So everybody was right there together. But you won the big games. You won the tournament games, the district games, and the HDC tournament over North Mercer. Talk about that. You knew each year is kind of its own thing, but you have a lot of continuity.
Yeah, our guys bought into practice right away because they're competitive and they love to play. And so, they showed up every day and practiced really hard. And just kept getting better. There was no complacency. Like Tyler said earlier, they didn't know what they didn't know. So what's complacency? What do you mean? We were 23-5. Are we not supposed to keep winning? Yeah, you are supposed to keep winning. And they did. They just showed up every day and played really hard. And I don't want to take a lot of credit for any of it because it was them, but I will take some credit. Their freshman year, I just stayed out of the way. I didn't tell them that they shouldn't be competing in these tournament games. And I didn't tell them that they couldn't go beat North Harrison in our first conference game by 30 points at Newtown. I didn't tell them they couldn't do anything. I just said, let's go. And they went, and they did it. And that second year just rolled right into the next year. And Brandon Coyne was a year older, and Andy was a senior. And these guys were, by then, fairly grizzled veterans, and they'd played a full varsity season at 14 years old. So pretty incredible.
This time you get to that sectional game, and you break through, beat Stewartsville with a 14-point run in the first half. Now, that seems to be a common theme. I mean, I read a lot of game summaries and things. There's a point when there's a run. And what made those runs?
They were really consistent. Our guys were very consistent, and they just kept playing and kept playing and kept playing. And if there was a crack in the other team, our guys would jump on that. And very explosive because we shot it well. We ran the floor. If I had $1 for every left-handed layup Tyler Busick has made in his career, I'd be doing pretty well. So it was constant pressure. We were kind of a 1-2-2 team back into man. So we were kind of always right there, so there were opportunities for steals and pitch-aheads and layups. We rebounded it well because we had Brandon and Andy, and these guys rebounded well too. And again, we shot it well. So, we'd run in transition, and Kanan would find an open man, and they would knock down a three, and then we'd jump into our press and might get a tip and steal. And I think it was just the thing that we were always pressuring them offensively and defensively, and if there was ever a crack, we really went for it.
Yeah, I think it was pretty common for there to be a close-knit game. 45 seconds, 90 seconds later, it was no longer a close-knit game. And it was, we'd just bam, 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 and all of a sudden the other team looks up and they're down by 16, 18 points. And we'd love to run the floor. One of my favorite things, there were many times that they would score and we would score before their fans were done cheering for their basket. It would be score, throw it in, layup before their fans could even finish clapping. And that was one of our favorite things to do, was just to move. And that's why we hated playing at Newtown. Our gym, if you've ever walked in that Newtown-Harris gymnasium, there is no room to run. I mean, you turn around and there's out of bounds the wall. And so I was trying to look at our senior year schedule, and I'm pretty sure we played as many games at Ketchum as we did at Newtown, because I think Coach was like, we would need a gym to run the floor. And so we would call up another team and say, hey, rather than you driving all the way over here to Newtown, Missouri, why don't you meet us in Trenton and let's play in Ketchum Center. And so, yeah, that was one of the things we did not like playing in Newtown.
I once had a coach tell me that, this reminds me of Newtown, the way you guys played. He said, we don't pressure to get a turnover on every possession. We pressure to get the 12-0 run that's going to win us the game. That you didn't need a turnover every time. You needed the pressure throughout the game, because when you got 3 or 4 turnovers in a row and you turn those into 10 or 12 points, that was a difference in the game. And that sounds like the kind of attitude you guys had. Just keep pressuring. And there's going to be a moment where we have that run, and then it's going to go from, like you said, a 3-point lead to a 15-point lead, and the game's over.
And I know he doesn't want to take credit for it, but I remember he mentioned consistency. You mentioned, you're not trying to get a steal. Everything was so disciplined. That 1-2-2 wasn't really a fly around 1-2-2. It was lull you to sleep and then take something away. Or it was right when you get across the floor, we're in hard man-to-man and you can't start your offense. And so it was really disciplined, so we weren't giving up easy buckets. Eventually that 12-0 run happens, and they can't eke back into the game because of how consistent the defense was.
A lot of that offensively and defensively, we had great point guards. So Kanan Fairley and then Kameron, and it was a steady dose of, we're going to run it right up your backside as we come down the floor. It's going to be, we're running. And Kanan and Kameron were both so good at getting the thing going, getting it up the floor. And then, you've got KJ shooting threes. You've got Tyler running to the rim. You've just got these weapons all over the floor. So our point guard play was tremendous for those 6 years.
It tends to make you pretty alert when you know the point guard is running up your backside and might drop a dime to you at any point.
Real quick before Tyler answers that. So Tyler grew up with KJ and Kanan. You don't know when it's coming, but eventually the ball is on its way. I can count on one hand the amount of times Tyler dropped a pass. I'm not kidding. He just didn't drop passes. And they came from a lot of different angles and a lot of different speeds, and just nobody else saw anything coming. But Tyler always had his hands up, and man, he caught it and finished it about every time.
Well, Jeff and I have played enough Sunday night basketball to know when Tyler played that he's been trained to run to the opposite block when you had the ball. He was always there. It was a pain when he was not on your team, and it was great when he was on your team, because all you had to do was look up, and when you run in the break, he was in the opposite block, and it was a layup. I'm guessing you did that a lot in high school, too.
Yeah, like when you have a great team around you and the skilled players around you, like finding your role is so important. And I was not a shooter. I found out very soon. I was not someone who's going to be shooting the ball. And so I found that, like, do what you do best. And what I did best was let the skilled players that can shoot do their thing, and you're going to get the ball and be at the right place at the right time. And if I were to explain my role in that team all 4 years, it was be at the right place at the right time, and know your role. And that's what I tried to do. And so most of my shots, most of my career was a layup just from being at the right place at the right time. And beyond a layup, like, my percentage went down significantly. So I just knew that's where I needed to be.
You can be elite at a lot of things. Tyler was elite at the things he just spoke of. He was elite at understanding his role and elite at gaining trust from his teammates. Everybody trusted Tyler.
Floor spacing, just being in the right spot.
Yeah.
And a great defender. Like, Tyler was somehow shutting these guys down that were much bigger than him inside because he again, right place at the right time. His defensive positioning was impeccable.
Yeah, chalk that up mostly to competitive spirit. I mean, our guys just wanted it more. They could do something about it because they were skilled and they were together, but they were just competitive.
Something to be said getting out in the driveway with an older brother too. That kind of drums it into you, and you have to climb that ladder and earn your respect within the family.
I'm sure many a coach in the HDC went into a game thinking, we got to stop cool, we got to stop fairly, and then looks down at the box score and says, Busick with 18 points and 12 boards. Gosh darn it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. Common
Exactly.
theme.
Exactly. Now, that sophomore year, you guys went to state quarterfinals held at Northwest Missouri State. Biggest arena you played in, probably. Biggest game you played, chance to go to the Show-Me Showdown, and you're playing the defending state champs. And isn't that always the way? There's some hurdle, there's some barrier to where you want to go, and it's not going to be easy. Talk about that.
Well, first of all, Jefferson was incredible. They were so good. They were so good. And our guys went and competed. It's one of those things that you almost have to experience. You have to experience the experience first. So we got to that game and we played in that arena, which we had played in it before because some forethought went into we're probably going to play Maryville. And so we started going in the summer. We would go to Maryville and play in tournaments because I wanted them to walk into these arenas and go, yeah, we've been here. Yeah, this is comfortable. We're okay. Getting to that quarterfinal was a huge step for us because it was the first one. So everything after that was, we've done this before. Now let's just go play. Getting there as sophomores, that main group as sophomores was a big step.
You guys took it right into that next year. Now you got a freshman jumping on.
2 freshmen.
Yeah.
So
younger brother of Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Japheth Busick. Me and Japheth were kind of always together, just tagging along with whatever they did. Most of the time, I'm sure to their annoyance. I mean, we were just there. No matter where they were, we were there. To backtrack all the way when they were younger, going to Bloomfield, Iowa and Moravia and, these tiny little towns just so we can find a place to play basketball. And we were right there. And so when we got there, we kind of already felt like we knew what to expect. But I remember early in the season, we've had 1 or 2 practices, and Japheth and I were feeling pretty good. We were feeling pretty good coming into this. Like we, were successful in middle school, but we didn't have the same level of success they did. But we're like, all right, we're going to jump right in. And I remember, I'm pretty sure it was me. I said something stupid. I think I got on to one of the juniors for doing something wrong in a drill. And the rest of the practice, my dad didn't say anything, but the rest of the practice, oh my gosh, I got the crap beat out of me in every drill. And then at the end of the practice, he said, hey, you guys need to shut your mouth and you need to follow. Right now, you need to be followers and follow what these guys are doing. And that just completely shifted my perspective of, all right, I got to get to work and become a part of this. Just so special being able to join a group. I remember Japheth and I talked from, probably 5th and 6th grade. We'd done the math. We're like, all right, we're going to get to play high school basketball for 2 years with these guys. And we were so excited about that when it finally got there.
That year, you get back to the same place. Like life happens sometimes like that. You have a lot of success and you come back, and whatever your kryptonite is, whatever your thing is that you've got to overcome is sitting there waiting for you. And this time you go back to Maryville and you're playing Jefferson again.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
What was the feeling going into that?
Well, I felt pretty confident. Again, Jefferson, they were on some incredible 50-game winning streak and winning state titles and stuff. But I'll say that junior year, that game was way different than their sophomore year. I think we lost by 20 or 25 your sophomore year. And we competed hard, but they were just a different level. But that junior year, it was a 3-point game with 3 minutes to go. They hit a 3 I think, back-to-back threes, consecutive possessions late. Then they made free throws. And I think it ended up 10 or 11, but it was way different. And, you could just see these guys developing into state caliber players in a team. It was, again, I don't know if organic is the word that people use anymore, but it was very organic. It was just, they just were together playing basketball, and away they went. They just went and played.
Yeah, the quarter scores in that game, 19-21 at the first quarter, 31-32. You were 1 point down at the half, 43-48 after three, and then they hit you with an 11-0 run, something you guys did later in a key game that we'll talk about. And I'll just put a pin in that free throw shooting, because one of the hallmarks of your team the following year was outstanding free throw shooting.
So was this Coyne's senior year?
Yes.
This was Coyne's senior year. So you knew you were coming back, but you're coming back without your big guy, and that spot had to be filled.
I know we haven't delved too deep into some of the individual stuff, but again, just being able to watch this group their freshman and sophomore year and just recognize just how skilled and talented they were. Competitive spirit's great, but man, we just had just some of the best players in the area. Kanan Fairley, I think anybody in this area probably still remembers him. I think he's on that wall at NCMC. Just the quickest guard. He took it from everybody defensively. Solid shooter, just good at every aspect of the game. And then KJ was, if you don't know KJ, he's the least athletic person you will ever see. He couldn't touch the rim at 6 foot tall. He couldn't stretch and touch his toes. Like, this kid is not athletic, but he was so skilled and he was so smart. And, if I thought I was competitive, he would be competitive about being more, if that makes sense. And he was just so talented, always wanted it too. KJ put in more work. I feel like, we went to open gyms, but KJ, I feel like, just shot it all the time. And so we just had so many good players coming up into that. It was so much fun to start looking at, okay, how do you get to that level? And, that freshman year, your junior year, man, that was hard. I don't know if Japheth has talked to you about that, but it was just so hard for us because, every day I'm being guarded by Kanan Fairley. Japheth is being guarded by KJ Cool. We could be told, hey, you're getting better right now. No, we're not. He just took it from me 3 times in a row, and then I got yelled at because I can't take care of the ball. And so, no, it was good. But we just, being a part of that, and then having guys like Tyler who just were always willing to tell you to do your job. I remember that very specifically. Like, just do your job.
And a big credit to the young guys for hanging in there, and a big credit also to the older guys who didn't just let them do whatever they wanted. They made each other better. Those older guys made these younger guys the players that they ended up being because they didn't take it easy on them. And I had to tell Kanan, you've got to take it from him every time if you can. Because Cameron's got to learn. He has to learn. Now his mom wasn't always thrilled about that dynamic and about that thought process. Kanan made Kameron the player that he ended up being. And again, it goes back to they loved each other and they were competitive, and that's why they all kept getting better.
I think that's a common theme. We've had Ainsley Tolson on the podcast before and talked about her career at Trenton and the girls' side, and I think that was a big part of the success of that group at Trenton was, can the older girls that are established get along with the younger girls are going to be good? If that mix happens, you've got something good going. Because a lot of times it doesn't happen. The older kids don't like the younger kids. They feel like they may take their spot, or they're competitive in the wrong way, and they've got to show I'm better than you. But if you can get that to mix, then that makes all the difference. It sounds like you guys made that happen, just like the Trenton girls did, and that made all the difference in the way your team building went.
Let's talk about a big game in that senior season. I mean, you roll through the season, you're prepped, now you're ready to go, and you're back in that same spot in the quarterfinal game. You're 1 game away from the Show-Me Showdown, and you don't have to beat Jefferson, but you got Mound City in the way. And you trailed at the half. So what was the halftime speech?
I think it was just, basically, we've just got to, again, just keep playing. Keep playing. Because you hear a lot of coaches in a lot of situations where there's a letdown game, there's kind of a trap game. Well, we had beaten Jefferson in the sectional game, which was
huge.
Over the hump.
Yeah. And then we go to the quarterfinal, we play Mound City. And if there was ever a chance for a team to let down and, be emotionally spent it would have been then. But no, it was just, I'm pretty sure I didn't get after anybody.
No, I think what I remember about that halftime was we were panicked as players. Like, just you could feel it. We were down a half, which probably hadn't happened since the last year against Jefferson or something. Like, we probably had not been down at half for many, many, many games. And I remember just coach walking in. He grabbed the clipboard just like he always does. And he goes into the halftime, hey, here's the plan. Here's what we're doing. It was not anything new. Nothing had changed. And it kind of put us at it like okay, this is fine.
The person that couldn't panic didn't panic.
The person that, and I do remember just feeling a sense, and coach always got to the locker room after we had all kind of had gotten in there. And I just remember that sense of like panic, frustration. But coach walked in, just told us, hey, we're going to go out there. We're going to win the second half. And that's what happened.
I think one of the coolest things, and this doubles back a long way, so I apologize about that, but we also had already kind of mentally prepared for all these games that your senior year. So I remember before the season started, we walked down to the office where we did a ton of our just walkthrough stuff where we would talk about stuff. And my dad had written every game that we were going to play on the board. And he had the dates, he had where it was going to be played, all the way down at the bottom. Scott County Central state championship game, Mizzou Arena. And so he had all that already set up. So we went into that year understanding like that's the goal, that's where we're headed. It was just really cool because, again, in that moment, I remember I was upset at KJ. KJ was freaking out a little bit because he had a rough half. I was mad at him. I think a lot of us were mad at him, maybe a little bit. But it was just, we were freaking out a little bit. And then he didn't come in, my dad didn't come in and say, guys, we are about to miss our opportunity to go to the Final Four. That was never mentioned. It was, like you said, just got back to work.
I also remember we ended every practice that year. Instead of get together as a team, we would say state champs every time at the end of practice, state champs. And that just set every practice, it's reminded like that's the goal. Nothing lower than that, nothing smaller than that. That's our goal.
Championship level effort all the time.
And then that second half, like Mound City definitely had, done their scouting report. KJ was kind of our guy who could take over the game at any moment. And I think our frustration was that KJ was so competitive that he knew he was the guy. And I think in that first half, that's what he's trying to be, is that guy. And then second half, Canyon Fairley was unstoppable. I just remember looking back, and he had weaved through every defender, layup. It was wild. He just kind of took off after that.
I'm sure Mound City had some thoughts at halftime. And it wasn't that you were going to go on a 12-0 run and outscore them 22-7 in the third quarter. I mean, whatever happened there, it clicked.
They had a great player. I'll always remember his name's Miles Clifton. He was about 6'3" and just super athletic. You didn't see a lot of Class 1 guys like that. And Kanan had come out, hit a couple shots, gotten to the rim a couple times, but 2 possessions in a row, Miles brought it up, and KJ just took it from him. And so defensively,
layup.
And KJ, like I said, is not the most athletic guy, but he's so smart. So Miles had a really, really, because of his length, a great spin move where he would use his length and then get all the way to the lane from the top of the key. And KJ just deked him 2 times in a row. He'd step and then he just slipped and tipped it and just went and got it, pitch ahead layup.
Okay, so you close out that Mound City team. You've made it to the Show-Me Showdown. It was a multi-year path. What were some of the feelings of satisfaction? What still remained ahead of you? The whole community getting pumped up. Talk about that.
Yeah, it was really an incredible feeling because we had talked about it. We had talked about going to the Final Four for a long time. And I had pictures of Mizzou Arena in my office all over the place. So in that sense, it wasn't shocking, but it was so exciting. I was so proud of these guys and so happy for them and our community. I remember just sitting there at the end of the Mound City game, and we were up 10 or 12 at the end of the third quarter, I think. And it was just basically the message was one more quarter. We got to finish this thing. And then when it was really over, I just remember leaning over to Robert Foster and I just said, we're going to the Final Four. And he's like, yep, we're going. It was incredible.
Yeah, I think we had the sense of relief, but we also knew like, we're not done. We're not done. There's still a lot of work to do. Yeah, it was just really special for the community. I just remember, just like with any town, it's the talk of the town. It becomes the talk of the town, and that's all you can think about. That's all you can talk about. It was just a really exciting time all at the same time knowing like we still got work to do.
Well, and you got people that have that institutional memory because you're talking 77. That's a lot of years. You know, people remember that. They come to those games. It's like being a Royals fan, you know?
You know, if I could just hang on for 30 years, I might get one, right?
Yeah,
kind of
exactly.
idea. Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. That's a big thing. But and you were part of that journey and you were out there on the floor in key moments playing in those games, but you're also kind of watching some people that you've admired do their thing as seniors.
Yeah, I mean, I remember their junior year, my freshman year, when we lost to Jefferson in that quarterfinal, and I just remember thinking, I really thought we were going to win the state championship this year, and we just kind of had that idea. And then the next year when it happened, I think me and Japheth both had the kind of unique ability to almost feel like this was inevitable. Like we got to step into this, and they were already rolling. Right? Like we didn't have to build any of this. We just got to benefit from what they had done and then just try to find a role on this great team. And so when we finally did that, one of my favorite videos, we're all just hugging. Like we're over there on the sideline, the buzzer's gone off, and we just are all hugging each other. We loved each other so much, and we all knew how hard everybody had worked to get to that point. And for me, I knew, especially like those older guys, they've been to this level 3 times now. And this third time, they did it. As a coach's kid, you know, there's also the recognition of I get to do this with my dad, and that's really special. KJ and I would talk about that sometimes, about how cool and how special that was, being able to be able to do that with our dad.
So I've asked about a moment about the Jefferson thing, because the way Misha does it, I think at that time did the 2-year cycle, and there had to be a moment where you guys saw that those districts and the sectional came out and it wasn't going to be Jefferson again.
Exactly.
You saw them on the line before. Did that?
The sectional, yeah.
Yeah. So you had to get through with them, but you had to get through them in an earlier moment. Talk about the Jefferson game and how that all came about. And did that affect you guys any, knowing Jefferson was going to come sooner than later in your run?
I don't want to speak for Tyler. It didn't make any difference to me. I think everybody understood we were going to go through Jefferson. The road was going to go through Jefferson. I think we kind of knew we were at that level where we were one of the best teams in the state. And so if we could find a way to get through that hurdle, again, like we thought we were going to win a state championship.
So you're heading into this Chadwick game. You know it's going to be everything you got to get over the hump. And I got a few things here. We'll stop at different point through this Chadwick game.
Pleasant good evening and welcome to Norm Stewart Court, Missouri Arena, Columbia, for the Show-Me Showdown state semifinal round between the Tigers of Newtown-Harris and the Cardinals of Chadwick. The winner will take on the Scott County Central Braves in the state championship game on Saturday afternoon at 12:20. Along with studio engineers Dave Miles and Rose King, Tom Johnson with you from the Show-Me Showdown. For the Tigers of Newtown-Harris, starting at point, 5'9" senior averaging 12 points a game, Kanan Fairley. At the shooting guard, 6-foot senior averaging 19 a game, KJ Cool. At forward, a 6-foot sophomore averaging 8 a ball game, Tyler Busick. At forward, a 6-foot sophomore averaging 5 a ball game, Japheth Busick. And at center, averaging 9 points a ball game, 6'3" senior TJ Ireland.
Okay, the atmosphere there. I mean, this whole audio tape, and you probably haven't heard this in a while.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Tom Johnson, that's awesome.
We should do a podcast with him.
Yeah.
He's incredible.
So, I mean, this thing is just full of people screaming at the top of their lungs, just living it out in the stands. And you just had to feel that on the court. Feels like the place is jumping.
Yeah, that's the first time that I've ever had cottonmouth, and I had no experience for what that was. I remember the first 2 minutes of that Chadwick game, because the energy in the room and because of the stakes of that game and because of how big that arena is, that I couldn't swallow, I couldn't catch my breath, and so I looked over at Coach. I'm 90 seconds into the game, and I'm given the universal, I need a
blow, Coach. Well,
I need a sub. And I remember Coach looking at me, looking at the clock, you need a sub at 90 seconds into the game? And I'm like, yeah, I need a sub 90 seconds into the game. I can't breathe.
Another great thing about Misha State Basketball Championships, too, is the Class 1 games are always the rowdiest because the entire town comes. It's a different dynamic than Class 3, 4, and 5, is that these smaller schools bring everybody, and it's their moment. And so these big arenas are filled with the Class 1 games, and it really makes for a great atmosphere and something that Class 1 players are not used to because there's so many people and the gym is so big.
Your whole town's here.
Right.
That was one of the quotes, yeah.
Yeah.
They were right.
We were playing Hamilton one time in the Gallatin tournament, and their student section started chanting that during the championship game of, I think that was my sophomore year, your junior year, but they were chanting, "Your whole town's here."
Right.
And I was like, yeah,
Yeah, pretty much.
They're probably right.
Yeah, and that Hamilton team went on to a quarterfinal in the Class 2 quarterfinal.
Yeah, they did.
And I remember specifically,
Before you guys went out of the
we
game.
were up by 40 in that Gallatin tournament. You know, they were probably still in football mode, but being up by 40 on Class 2 quarterfinal team is pretty cool.
Yeah, there were some really cool things like that our community, we had such great families. Like, there were some guys on the team who, you know, didn't get on the floor a lot, but like I think about some of the families like the Browns, just special people. But then you had just community members, like we've got the Doms and we've got our entire support system at the store with Carolyn Rieger giving the team snacks and stuff. But that atmosphere of everybody's here, it's about to tip up, and it's just so loud and so crazy. And, you know, it wasn't just our community. We had a lot of local support and a lot of area schools who had competed really hard against us, but then came down and rooted for us. And that was really special.
Yeah, the bottom line with that is these guys were so easy to root for. Like, they played the right way. They were unselfish. They played great defense. They were great teammates. They didn't get technical fouls because they were arguing with the officials. They didn't taunt the other team. They were very gracious in victory and humble in victory. And so they were easy to root for.
I think that kind of started too with Kanan. Kanan Fairley, again, don't mistake meekness for weakness. He's a very quiet person, but he is just as competitive as everybody else.
Oh, the fire burns hot.
The fire burns hot with CP. And one of my favorite memories that year was actually in that Jefferson game. So we kind of got off to a hot start, and we had back-to-back plays. We hit a 3. KJ had a long rebound, and he did a pitch ahead to Kanan, who got a almost midair layup, and then Kanan got another kind of leak out coast to coast, and they called timeout, and Kanan came running off the floor, pumping his fists and jumping in the air, and I had never seen him show emotion like that. And I just remember thinking, man, this is a lot. Like, he's put in so much work to get to this point.
Yeah, you talk about Kanan's character. One thing, as people who grew up together, you know, Kanan's my first cousin, and, you know, so we've known each other since we popped out. And one thing you know about Kanan is he's never said a bad word about anybody. And when you grow up with a group of boys, teenage boys, locker room talk, you're boys. But that just wasn't Kanan. If we were ever kind of mean or just in a poor-spirited or just kind of just not nice to people, that he never partook in that. And it really made you step back and go like, okay, yeah, he's right. Character is what I would say about him. And that showed both off the floor and on the floor.
To add to that too, like, we had so many competitive guys. KJ's an alpha. Like, he was a absolutely, like, just go step on your throat. I always remember KJ didn't ever start the trash talk. He would never be the one to start it. We were brought up the right way. Thank you, Dad. But if somebody started something, man, that was a mistake, because KJ then was going to finish that evening. But at the same time, having all those dynamics, like, just really, I feel like, balanced everything out, because there were nights we needed KJ to just take the ball and say, I'm gonna go do this. Mm-hmm. And then we needed nights where Kanan would go get the ball and hold it and take a deep breath and let everybody say, hey, we're fine. So all those pieces together, and, you know, we haven't mentioned guys like Justin Rawls, who just kind of slowly became one of Missouri's best shot blockers. He was 6'6". We were able to be super aggressive defensively because Justin was going to block their shot. TJ Ireland, I really think between him and Tyler, I think one of them probably had a pretty significant case to being All-State that year.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I just think it was almost like the case of like, well, I don't know who to choose. And so they didn't pick either one of them. And then Japheth Busick, who Levi Wollenzien's a kid who started most of his career.
Yeah, Levi brought us a ton of toughness.
He was the toughest kid on our team. He called Justin, who was 6'6", he called him Tiny. And he would always say, Tiny, you are, and he would just get after him in practice and push him to be tougher. And he brought a lot of that edge. But Japheth jumped in that stretch run of playoff games, and Japheth suddenly is starting on a state championship level team. He'd come off the bench his first 2 years, and it was just next man up. Absolute fearlessness. And again, all that was just set from senior leadership. So just so many guys who did so many different things and did them well.
You finally got rid of the cottonmouth, got back into the game, and this game got rolling, and it was tied all the way through, and we're into the third quarter, and I suppose you guys might want to hear some of these little clips here.
Let's go.
Rebound to Tyler Busick of Newtown. Outlet pass to Fairley. Fairley behind the back on the dribble. He brings it right side and gives the ball up to Kameron Cool right in front of the Newtown bench. Lob pass inside to Ireland. A layup reverses it up and in. Busick to Ireland, and TJ with the reverse layup left side. Up the Newtown-Harris lead to 3. 44-41 Tigers.
It's rolling along, and then it really gets rolling.
No, second free throw by Ireland. It's on the way and good. TJ ties his ball game up at 55 apiece. Both teams driving the speed limit here with 6:47 to go in the fourth quarter.
Okay, this is the moment. You guys had the lead. They came back, took the lead, and you've tied this thing up. And this is where it all breaks loose.
Oh, I love this.
Can I comment real quick?
You can.
Like this sequence is just burned into my memory. I don't want to give anything away because Tom, I'm sure, has a tremendous call. But I think we took a couple shots, got a couple offensive rebounds, and just kept fighting. And it finally came down to Tyler with a left-handed tip out as an assist. I would give him an assist because I think he knew where he was tipping it. So it was just, multiple effort play. Everybody was continuing to play hard, and Tyler stuck with it and somehow got that thing out of the mess and into the right hands.
The Tigers forced a held ball, and Newtown-Harris with a chance to take the lead on this possession. Fairley gives the ball left side to KJ Cool. KJ, lob pass underneath to Ireland, who makes the catch. He'll pump fake and put up the layup and miss. Got his own rebound. He'll put it back up again and miss. Rebound tipped out to KJ Cool. He'll penetrate to the elbow, put up the shot and miss. The rebound out to Japheth Busick. His shot from 3. Good! 3 offensive rebounds for the Tigers. Japheth Busick nails the triple, and Newtown-Harris leads it 58-55 with 5:37 to go in the fourth quarter. Here is Patrick Holt with the ball. Newtown defender hits the floor. Holt has the basketball. Passing the ball right of the key to Phillips. Goes inside. Shot blocked by KJ Cool. Taken by Japheth Busick. Japheth Busick with the ball for Newtown-Harris. Cross-court pass. Kanan Fairley. Kanan penetrates to the elbow. Gives the ball to KJ Cool. Right of the circle. Now into the corner for Japheth Busick. He drives. Shoots. A little bit strong. Rebound to Tyler Busick. Now to Fairley. To KJ Cool. The open 3 is up. It's good! KJ Cool with an open 3 from the head of the key. He has 12. Newtown-Harris leads it by 6. 4:59 to go. Timeout called by Chadwick head coach Terry Jester.
Whew, chills.
Yeah, chills.
Man, those back-to-back threes. Whew. But, it wasn't just dribble it down, one pass, shoot a 3, bang, bang. It was just hustle play after hustle play.
3 offensive rebounds in that one.
Yeah,
sequence.
they just kept trying. And man, chills. That crowd in the background.
Yeah,
that's incredible. These guys. It just takes a certain level of courage, and for these guys, that courage I think was lessened by their teammates, their brothers. So they trusted each other. And it just made it so much easier to go out there and play on a big stage because they were out there together.
Yeah. Well, let's keep rolling with this and take it out to the...
It's Newtown-Harris with the first double-digit lead of the ball game. 67-57 as Cool knocks in the second. Kameron Cool with 8 at 68-57. 2:38 to go. KJ Cool. Outlet pass to Fairley. Fairley to the front court. He'll take the ball in for 2. Kanan Fairley with 10, and the Tigers lead it by 9 with under 20 seconds to go. That may be the put away in this ball game from Missouri Arena. Shot from the baseline, no good. Rebound, Ireland. Foul whistle against Chadwick. Newtown-Harris certainly now tasting a trip to the state title game, and it's going to be for the Class 1 state title, a storyline that could be Hoosiers Part 2. Free throw by TJ Ireland is good. He has 13. Newtown-Harris, I feel very confident in saying, is going to win this ball game, and for the first time in school history, play for a state championship Saturday at 12:20. Second free throw coming up for TJ Ireland. It's up. It is good. What free throw shooting for the Tigers in this semifinal game. Aaron Phillips with the ball for Chadwick. He'll work it to the front court. Pitched up to the right side. Hands the ball off to Nathan Hale. His three. Short rebound. Ireland. 4 seconds left. Buzzer coming up from Missouri. For the first time in the history of the school, the boys basketball team from Newtown-Harris is going to play for the state championship in a semifinal thriller, dominated, I would say, by the defense of Newtown-Harris in the second half. The Tigers upend the third-ranked team in the state, the Chadwick Cardinals, 75-64.
There you have it.
I've got to mention real quick, Japheth.
Absolutely.
What a game. He's a sophomore. Kameron and Japheth both played great in that game. I mean, that stakes couldn't be any higher. But Japheth started, like Kameron said earlier, because Levi hurt his knee in our district final and couldn't play, had to have knee surgery. So Japheth was thrust into a starting role, which was perfectly fine with everybody because Japheth was a really good player. But so in that Chadwick game, early in the game, I think somebody drove into the paint, and Japheth had a really easy back cut layup if he just would have cut, but he was kind of frozen. I think the Busick cottonmouth got him, couldn't breathe, couldn't swallow. So he stood there, and Japheth he's a tough kid. He's super competitive. So I kind of knew what he needed at that time. Some of the other guys needed something different, but I pulled Japheth out, and I was like, you got to be ready. Get ready. And I remember he sat down, and Levi was like, Japheth, get ready. Let's go. And then Japheth went back out there, and he hit 4 threes in that game.
My favorite quote from Japheth would go on to be one of the best 3-level scorers in the area at that time.
Tough.
Mean, he ended up with a heck of an offensive career, but he was just so tough at that time and knew his role was, I'm going to fight defensively, I'm going to make layups, I'm going to try to scratch out some extra possessions for my team, stuff like that. And he wasn't a bad shooter, but he didn't have to shoot a lot. I mean, he had KJ Cool right there to pitch it over to, he didn't have to take a ton of shots. And he joked after the game, I always say, if I make the first one, I can shoot another one. Mm-hmm. And that night he made his first one. Mm-hmm. And so it was just so special to have. And I think runs like this take stuff like that.
Well, and a credit to Japheth, because some kids, they get pulled out of the semifinal at the state Final Four and kind of get chewed a little bit. He could have just folded. I mean, he was not going to, let that deter his ability out on the floor. But I also think so much less, it's not me. It was these guys. Like he was playing for his teammates and knew that he had to go out there and be ready. And he was immediately ready to go. And I want to mention too, KJ had a huge amount of pressure on him because he was our guy offensively. Now, we had a bunch of talented offensive guys, but KJ carried the load, and he knew he had to carry the load. And that's a lot of pressure, and he put a lot of pressure on himself because he's highly competitive, wanted to win so bad, and he put a lot of pressure on himself. But man, did he come through. Like he was just, Cameron's right, he was an alpha, and everybody followed him. He was kind of Kanan's protector. Not that Kanan really needed a protector, but KJ was really, really sensitive to anybody giving Kanan a hard time on the floor, and was very protective of Kanan.
If you KJ, what you know about KJ is if you come after KJ, it's one thing, but if you come after Kanan, or if you come after Tyler, or if you come after Kanan, Japheth, that's a whole nother thing.
When he got fired up and got challenged somehow by the opponent, it was over for them. It was just over. He was not going to let that happen. And it was so fun to watch his development as a player and as a person and as a leader. But again, it was very organic. I'm using that word again, but it was very organic. These guys were together, and they'd been together since they were 7, 8, 9 years old. It was really fun to watch.
That's such a huge moment. I mean, the other team that made it to the Show-Me Showdown from Newtown didn't win any games, and you guys broke through and won that game. Winning on that floor is important. And there's a little bit of glow to that. I'm sure it's exciting in the locker room. Coaching you is probably already thinking ahead to what's facing you in the final game.
Yeah. So I scouted a lot. We didn't have huddle back in the day, as they say. And so I scouted a lot on the road. And back to Jefferson real quick. I went to Jefferson. When I would walk in, they'd, hey, Coach Cool. They just got to know who I was because I was there a lot. We played in the MFA break time shootout in December before we went to the Final Four. So after our game, we played Glasgow down there. And the whole reason we went was to be in that arena. Again, back to the whole environmental. I wanted them to already have experienced that. So I stayed and watched Scott County Central play Harrisburg. And Harrisburg had won, I think they'd won the state title the year before. And they had a great team. Harrisburg was Class 2, and Scott County Central obviously Class 1. So I stayed and I scouted that game. And Scott County Central just rolled them by like 35. And I was like, oh boy, they're really good. But, of course, again, I didn't tell these guys that, but I knew Scott County Central was special going into that game. And so, but what a great moment for our guys and for our community. We were just ecstatic. And I remember during the national anthem of the state championship game, I took a moment during the anthem and just soaked it in. And now every time there's a national anthem, Zoom, I go right back to that moment every time. And it's not like I'm trying to live in the past, because obviously that was a huge moment and a great time in my life. But it's just a reminder of that was such a special moment for me. It was a great experience.
One of my favorite things he said to us, and I don't know if you remember saying this to us, but was the idea that as cool as it was that we were in a state championship game, we were going to go on and we were going to have better things in our lives. Mm-hmm. And he said, I don't want this day to be the best day of your life. This is 32 minutes, and you need to enjoy it, and you need to play for it right now. We're not playing for this for 40 years from now. And just that idea of, he said, you're going to get married, you're going to have families, you're going to go do great things. And that just stuck with me a lot. Basketball can do so many great things and bring us so many great memories, but, ultimately the fact that I still have a group text with all the guys I played basketball with is pretty special. Just that night after winning that state semifinal game was one of the best nights of my life, as far as just enjoying time with the people that I'd spent so much time with growing up. There's something to be said about knowing you're about to play for a state championship game. Mm-hmm. And I know people probably might think I'm being facetious when I say I really thought we were going to win. I really did. I really thought we were going to win. Knowing the final score now, I'm sure that sounds silly, but I really did. I thought we were going to win the game.
Yeah, that night, I would second that. That night after that Chadwick game, we went out and ate as a team dinner at some,
Longhorn Steakhouse.
Mm-hmm. Meal that some of the businesses in town had covered, I think, is what they did. And just being together that right there was probably more enjoyable than the games themselves, of just being together, knowing that we did it, we got here, we're here now, was just such a cool experience. And Coach just kept saying that night, I just remember him saying that night, hey, enjoy this, remember this is special. As a high schooler, you don't think about time as much as you do when you're old, like all of us. He kind of had that side to say, hey, this isn't forever, this is a blip in time, so take a moment, remember this is really special.
Really have enjoyed this story, Chris. It just seems like we all have these moments where we know that we're with the people we're supposed to be with, and we're doing what we've trained to do and what we've loved to do and what we've done since we were little babies. And here's the moment, and we get to go out in the arena, lay it all out there. So much fun.
Yeah, I think one of those moments for me was circa 2015, one Sunday night when we were at the gym, and of course, KJ was there, and Kameron was there, and Tyler was there, and in walks TJ Ireland for some reason. He never used to come. And we're like, wow, the Newtown Final Four team is here, and we're going to get to play him. And, I'm sorry we handed you your second worst loss of your career. Yeah, but that was my state championship game, so I'm glad you guys were there to be a part of it. In all seriousness, Kameron remembers that game.
I do, because I kept saying, look, if we had Kanan, because I'm not supposed to. Yeah, he was.
The glue.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, it was so great to follow you from afar at that moment, and then get to know you guys closer as you grew out of the high school years and into your professions and stuff, and to know that we watched you back then, and then you were right, as all coaches usually are, that this is just a moment in time and you're going to go on and do greater things. So it's been a really special time kind of reminiscing with you guys and talking about your legacies in this area and in the sport of basketball.
And each of you are having an impact in this community and the Chillicothe community, continued impact. And it's just cool to see. I have a lot of respect for each of you, and I can see how that cohesion of your team and all those experiences built into you, some of these great values and things that your family's built into you, and you just continue to lead the way for people and kids today.
And I've got new Christmas gift ideas for the both of you for T-shirts. Cameron's is going to be, I was top 10 in my class.
That's right, I was.
And Tyler's is going to be, I've known you since we popped out. So there we go. Quotes of the night.
I love that. And guys, thank you so much for coming in the studio and sharing this great story of your run to the state finals and that great team and that 4-year run. Kameron went on to be all-state. You went on to win 20 games the next year and still continue that legacy. And Newtown-Harris is known for good basketball. So happy to have you here. And I just want to thank our listeners at Show Me Sports Legacies.